I don't ever slow up, no I don't take shit. I got no love for the fakeness. If you wanna play tough and wanna hate this, I'll always show up. I don't ever slow up.
Okay, so let's have a look at the Jonnie Candito program. So this is the input sheet. We're going to just blast through this. The first page, I'm going to have to change that from kg to pounds on the drop down list if you are doing pounds. Change 2.5 to 5 if you're doing pounds. If not, keep it the same. Enter your current squat max. What is going to be your goal max? Probably anywhere from maybe 10 to 15 pounds, so maybe 20 to 30 pounds, 10 to 15 kilograms, so maybe 20 to 30 pounds in that sort of range, because this program is not meant for a novice beginner lifter, because you don't need to take 9 weeks off just for the squat. You're at a point where you're going to be making newbie gains. Just focus on the 3 core lifts. Right, choose the pin squat or the box squat, entirely up to you. Keep it as a pull squat. Enter your deadlift 1 rep max. Boom, ready to go. So let's go on to week 1. Let's talk about week 1 now. And again, I'm not going to drag on over this. It's all pretty self-explanatory now that I've really approached it with a breakdown approach. So it's high frequency. It's a high frequency phase because we are doing a lot of training days. So that's 5 sessions is a high frequency, which is why it's called the high frequency. Now here's the RPE scale with a description of what each RPE actually means. Okay, and here's the percentage RPE rep scale. So what did I change? I put the RPEs in, this is this column. I included the percentage column so we know what percentages we're working with. Let's get started on analyzing the days. Okay, so pretty straightforward here. For example, the first one, you're squatting 150 kilograms in this instance for 3 sets of 3 reps at 75%. So pin squat, you should know what a pin squat is at this point in phase. We're going to do it hard. We're going to go hard. The difficulty level should be hard, so really hard. I've gone for about 9.5 actually on this case, which is quite extremely difficult, and I'm going to do 8 reps. Now again, I must state here, if you're at a level where you get this scale and you feel like this isn't right for you, change it. Change the percentages and change the RPE. You got it right here, easy to do. Day 2, again, these last 2 exercises for each day are optional, but I would do at least one of them, preferably the first one. In addition, what I changed is the rep scheme for the optional assistance exercises. Instead of 3 sets 15, I've gone 3 sets 15 to 20. I've gone from 3 to 4 sets of 12 reps, because then you can actually use these percentages if you have an idea of what your 1 rep max is for any of these exercises, if you can actually add a 1 rep max to it. Some people actually have a max for their leg press, some have the max for their hip thrusters, some have a max for goblet squats, hyper extensions, but you probably won't for a hamstring curl or leg extension. Right, let's go all the way to the end. Now here's where I've changed things slightly. Now initially you had this checkpoint concept, which is what Jonnie Candito wanted you to do with this heavy triple. He basically wanted you to chase a heavy triple with maximal intensity really. If it was between 80 to 87.5, you keep your max as it is. If it's below, you change it based on what it recommends. So let's say, for example, 130. Oh shit. 130, you change your max to 158. If it was 190, so it's above 87.5%, then you change it to a greater number. But I disregard this. Okay, I don't want to do that. We're not doing that. So instead what we're going to do is we're going to use the RPE scale of an RPE of 9 for heavy triple. We know the percentage is 89% based on what's over here, and we're going to try that out, a pause squat. Now you might not actually be able to do that when you're working up to the heavy triple, so then whatever it is, just keep it as it is. So if you're heavy triple at an RPE of 9, which means you've got at least 1 more rep left in the tank, and you get to the point, maybe not in this instance it wasn't 177.5, let's say it's 160, and you know that's your RP of 9, you know that you could do 1 more rep, but that would probably be it, then just stop at whatever number that is, and there we go. So that's week 1. Let's move on to week 2. So week 2 is high frequency again, but the frequency more pertains to how much squatting you're going to be doing and the frequency of that squatting. You're going to squat 5 days a week, 5 days in this phase. In addition to that, you're going to be pretty much keeping it to near exact same formula for each day. You're going to choose to do 75 to 80% for 3 sets of 3, with the exception of day 1 where you do 3 sets of 1. And then you're going to do either a pause squat and a pin squat for 5 sets of 1 at a medium level of difficulty, which would be quite high intensity on the percentage scale because it's a single, so it's not going to be light. Then you got your 2 optional exercises. Now, let me give some feedback based on my experience. When I did this, I did not do any of the optional exercises after day 1. I realized pretty quickly didn't work. I wouldn't advise also doing the block pull deadlift, to be honest with you, especially if you don't have a high tolerance to high frequency training. Save your energy for just the squats. In addition to that, I did not use the 80% option. I used the 75% option. Again, it's all about saving energy, conserving your energy. You're only at week 2. There's no point to burn out and fry and incur central nervous system fatigue on your second week of a 9-week training program. So again, we've got the pin squat or the pause squat. The pin squat I find to be much easier than the pause squat because my sticking point is normally at the bottom of the lift coming out the hole rather than in a more pause squat in a pin squat position. When I do the pin squat position, I have it slightly higher in the mid range of the squat in terms of the range of motion rather than out the bottom, setting the pin right at the bottom of the lift. Because especially in this program, I'm already doing a pause squat. So why would I set the pin at the same position as a pause? I'd like to set it in a way that I'm working in the mid-range of my squat rather than at the bottom. Just an idea that I used rather than constantly working at the bottom range of motion of my squat. Yes, which is my sticking point, but there's no point doing it back-to-back for 5 days a week, just working in that one range of motion. Anyway, there we go. That's my advice on this. It's all very self-explanatory. The column 1 is option 1. The column 2 is option 2. That's about all it needs explaining in this section. I'm just double checking. Yep, that's about it. It's pretty straightforward and simplistic because it's a squat-only program. It's very to the point. Squats. That's the goal, the objective. So it's quite easy to explain each week. So let's move on to week 3. So week 3 is still in the high frequency phase because we are training 5 days a week. However, it's slightly different to week 2. With the exception to day 1, we're doing 3 sets of 3 with a squat at 80 or 85%. My advice, do the 80%, keep it a little bit lighter. We're only in week 3 and we're still just coming towards the end of the high frequency phase. Second piece of advice. Now, you've got anywhere, with exception to day 1, you've got a total of 5 exercises per day. 2, 3, 4, 5. My advice would be to do at least 3 per day. That would be really the priority, would be the first 3 exercises. The last 2 are optional if you feel like you can do it. And again, I've changed the rep scheme for this program. You can see it's 3 sets 12, 3 sets 10, 4 sets 12. I've kept the reps per set lighter than what Jonnie Candito was recommending. I like to do in that sort of, my personal training preference is working in that sort of 8 to 12 rep range for strength as well. Most of my training is done from 8 to 10. I rarely go below that because I use the RPE scale up here, but that's waffling off the point now. But that just works better. I think it's a better rep scheme when approaching the assistance or accessory exercises. Everything else is really straightforward. I really can't think of anything else to break down here because I've done quite a good job at trying to make everything pretty self-explanatory when you just look at this. There we go. Now, this is a tough week. Prepare yourself, especially after doing week 2 and week 1 of high frequency training. You're going to start to feel it on week 3, but don't worry, it's the last week of high frequency. Until week 4, things will change. So week 4, we're now reduced the frequency to 2 sessions instead of 5, but the volume is high. It's very obvious straight away that that's going to be the case. Look, we've got first one, 10 sets 3, 80%, that's 30 reps. Then you do some pin squats for 2 sets of 10. That's 2 sets of 10, that's 20. So there we go, you've got 50 reps already on the squat in just one session. My advice would probably be to skip the deadlift, especially considering the volume is very high, but not everyone's the same. Maybe someone can do that. Session 2 is going to be draining. Now, if you felt like session 1 was good and you were able to do those 10 sets of 3 with confidence, then go for the 180 max weight. If not, then go for 175. Now, what is these weights? How is it determined? Well, the first one is day 1's weight plus 2.5 kg or 5 pounds. Option 2 is day 1 weight plus 7.5 kg or 15 pounds. Pretty simple, straightforward. You can do 5 10 sets of 3 reps. Now, the back off sets are only to be done if you did this max weight and you did the full 10 sets. If not, drop it, don't do it. No, just a no. My advice, personally, is not to do it full stop. Even if you do the 180 for 10 sets of 3. I actually did this. I did the 10 sets of 3 at the full weight, so plus 7.5 kg or 15 pounds. But I did not do this in a dynamic way in terms of I was taking short rests between each set. I was taking quite long rests, maybe 3 to 5 minutes. It was a very long session. So actually, after I had finished it, because I took quite long rest, I really couldn't be bothered to do the back off. Another 5 sets of 3, no way. Wasn't going to happen. Not going to happen. So I didn't do it. But again, you might want to do it. Everyone's different. Everyone's unique. Not everybody's the same. But I did do the pin squats, and I did do that. And that was one set of 12. RP of 9 in this instance. In this case, it's 162.5 kg. Now, my advice, anywhere from 8 to 12 reps, really. In fact, I'm going to change that. I'm going to set it at the RP of 65.3, but anywhere from 8 to 12 reps. Ideally, try and chase that full 12 reps, especially with the pin squat, because you're going off the pins. You can take a little bit of breather between each rep, so you can do a bit of high volume on that. So there we go. That's based on my experience, my opinion, my thoughts. But don't limit yourself. If you feel like you can do the beltless back offs, you feel like you can do the deadlifts, you can do the pin squat to the full 12 reps, go for it, do it. Push yourself, but at the same time, be safe, considering you still got week 5 to 9 to go. Just take that into consideration every time you touch the bar. All right, let's move on. So week 5, we're doing high volume, reduced frequency. Day 1, we're going to do one heavy set of 1 for either 87.5% or 90%, and then you do 5 sets of 3 at 80%, then 5 sets of 3, 77.5%. Then you're going to take the weight you did the previous week for the pin squat, and you're going to add 5 pounds or 2.5 kg, and then you got an optional deadlift. Session number 2, you've got 2 options. You could do option number 1, which is what you did for the 5 sets of 3 at 80% on day 1 plus 2.5 kg or 5 pounds, or you can do 87.5%, we can see up here in the formula bar, of your squat max, and you can do 5 sets of 3. Option number 2 is 80% of your 1 rep max minus 5 pounds or 2.5 kg. You can do 5 sets of 3 for that. And then you got the optional beltless squat, which back off sets are to be done if both max weight and max reps were hit. For this one, for example, the max weight, and you did 5 sets of 3, then you're going to do the beltless squat. That's what I interpret that as. And then you can do pin squat, 1 set of 15, and just add 5 pounds to last week, or 2.5 kg. Put that in just in case. For all you Europeans, which I am one of them. And there we go. So again, you can really tell that this is a high volume week. So my advice whenever you're going into these training weeks, just keep that into consideration when you're approaching the bar. This is going to be a high volume week. Prepare yourself mentally and physically for that. You only got 2 training sessions, but the volume is high and it's going to be intense. Moving on to the next week. So this is a new training phase. We're going for max rep transition. It's been a long day, sorry. First thing you can do is chase your 5 rep max. Once you've done that, you're going to come to the checkpoint. Make sure you make note of that. And you're going to go to the checkpoint and you're going to type that in. If it is less than 80%, if it is less than 85%, so let's type in a bit of an exaggeration, you're going to have to take this data right here, which is your new goal max, go to the input section and type it in there. If it is between 85 and 90%, so let's take for example 185, keep your training goal the same. If it is above 90%, put it in the wrong column, then you're going to, sorry, I've made a bit of a mistake there. If it is above 90%, then you're going to have an increased max goal. So you're going to take that new number and put it in right there. So there you go, that's pretty self-explanatory and straightforward. Now, when you come back to day one, you've got optional deadlifts and you've got 2 optional assistance exercises. My advice would be to try and do at least one of those. And if you feel like doing the deadlift, you can do the deadlift. Now, session number 2 in this training week is a little bit more straightforward. It's 12 sets of 1 rep at a percentage of 75%, which is, let me just move that into that column, pretty achievable, I would say. That's not going to be too much of a challenge for most of you. And then you can do you got 2 optional exercises. I'd say these are optional, especially after the chasing of the 5 rep max on day 1. You got the RDLs and the dumbbell lunges there, and the RP scale is right there. Again, we still got the RP charts over here. You can use those to work out what weight you need to lift, or you could just use the difficulty column. It's going to be sort of medium difficulty, not too tough but not too easy. There we go, week 6. Thank God it was pretty straightforward, just 2 training sessions and pretty to the point. Let's move on to the next one. So it's getting a lot more simplistic, albeit more intense. This is your max strength phase now. Week 7, week 8, and max strength. Okay, so the first one is a squat. You're going to do 1 heavy triple, that's 90% of your max. Then you've got the deadlift optional for 2 sets of 6, and then you've got 2 other optional assistance exercises. Again, the RP scales are there. RP is there. If you want to achieve that and do that, you've got a good idea of what it should be. Definitely 2 more reps should be left in the tank for each of those training sets. Day 2, you're going to do 12 sets of 1 again. This time it's going to be 75% plus 5 pounds or 2.5 kg, and that's for 12 sets of 1. And then you've got 2 additional assistance exercises that you can do if you so choose to. Day 3, you're going to do 3 sets of 1 rep at 90% plus 5 pounds or 2.5 kg. But there is an important thing to take into consideration here. This is based on what it says actually in week 8 as well. If you were not able to achieve this one right here, 1 set of 3 reps, you probably don't want to attempt this one. And you might want to skip it. But based on the experience of the people I know who've done this program, they were able to do 1 set of 3. So that rarely will be the case when it comes to this one. And then you've got the front squats and the competition deadlift. You can do those. I would probably advise doing these 2, at least on the final day. It's your last day and you're going to have a bit of rest. Give all 3 a go on day 3. There we go. Let's move on to the next one. So, still in the max strength phase. You got 2 options, option A, option B. Option A is 90% plus 2.5 kg or 5 pounds. Option 2 is 92.5% plus 2.5 kg or 5 pounds. Do 1 set of 3 reps. Then you're going to do your deadlift, which is not optional right in this instance. It's 2 sets of 4, 76.2%. Then you've got 2 optional assistance exercises. Keep it between 8 to 9 RPE for 3 sets at 10. Day 2, you're going to do squats, of course, and you're going to do 12 sets of 1 at 75% of your 1 rep max. And then you've got 2 additional assistance exercises. Day 3, this is the one, same rule of thumb as what it said the week before. If you didn't achieve the max weight and the max number of reps on day 1 for the squat, then don't attempt this one. If you did, you've got 2 options to choose here. You can do 90% plus 5 kg or 10 pounds, or you could do 92% plus 5 kg or 10 pounds for 3 sets of 1 rep. Then you've got your pin squat. You can do 86.3% for 1 set of 3. That's an RPE of 8. And then you've got 2 optional exercises. There we go. Very straightforward, very to the point. Moving on to the final training week. So this has been a bit of a journey. Right here, max out week. Max out week. I like that name. Okay, squat. I'm going to do 155 kg at 70% plus 5 kg or 10 pounds for 6 sets of 3. Then you're going to do some RDLs with the dumbbell and leg extensions. On day 2, you're going to squat for 9 sets of 1 at 75%. And then the final session of the whole training block, day 3, max out. Look at yourself in the mirror, reassure yourself your new max is real, and then leave the gym. So this is it. This is the day where you chase your new 1 rep max. You got your training goal already, which in week 6 we readjusted. So you have a good idea really on this day what you should be chasing. You have a good idea of what the training goal is. Final statement there is basically saying once you've achieved it, that all out max effort RPF 10, couldn't have done any more without failure. That's it. That's the one. Tick it off. Leave the gym. A lot of people, what they end up doing is they end up hitting it and thinking, I could do a bit more. And then they go in, do another heavy set, fail, injure themselves. And the whole 9 weeks was a complete and total waste of time. Because then you might have to do a 12-week rehab to get yourself back on track. So just be confident and be content and happy with your new max. Don't do anything stupid to try and increase it. There we go. That's the program. I hope you enjoy it. Good luck. If you have any questions, you can always comment on YouTube or you can contact me on Instagram. All the details are below in the comment. Don't forget to like and subscribe to keep up to date with all things strength training and my program reviews. Thanks for watching this. Bye-bye.